Say that again. John, take your mask off.
Mask off. But all right. He is 15 feet apart.
I don't think he is to me. But Jans, I have O blood type. I do have O blood type. So
I got one shot anyways.
oh,
I don't
nice.
know. I don't know my blood type.
I only have
But
a
you did get
2%
one.
chance of getting it. So that's solid. Luckily that was months ago.
Yeah. Well, I got a blood test on yesterday, and I still have antibodies.
Okay, going live in 15. Well, we can get it April 5th.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about
But
that.
I'm not super eager since like I get blood samples weekly.
Yeah, we should get it though.
Huh?
Hold on. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the NBA trade deadline. My name is Sean Green. Welcome to Almost Gameday. Glad to have you here. It's 1 o'clock on Thursday. God, I can't even think of the date. March 25th, 2021. There's been so many things that have already happened. I planned this show last night. I watched the Magic game because, as you see, I'm repping the Magic today. I watched the Magic game assuming that it would be the last time that I would see probably Evan Fournier and Aaron Gordon as a Magic player. I have been watching them on the Magic since I was 15 years old. I grew up with them. I did my college years with them, my high school years, all that good stuff. But I was not expecting Nikola Vucevic to get traded. So today is a very weird day for me. I don't know what to feel. So I had this planned for a couple days. I was on Just Winning earlier in the week. So let me bring on another Orlando Magic fan, John Whitley. John, we're both Magic fans. There's a lot that's been going on today. Should we just start going through all these trades that have happened before 3 o'clock today?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Sean, it's a lot to go through. Like you said, I'm a lifelong Magic guy. I've got a lot of mixed emotions right now. Lots happened, so let's get into it.
Yeah, the mixed emotions are real. I don't know what to feel right now. Trading an all-star is never easy, and I definitely don't know how I feel. But let's talk about Nikola Vucevic, right? He got traded early. He was the first trade to really be announced of this blockbuster deal, and many people assumed, John, that he wasn't going to get traded because the Magic wanted a haul. Now, this trade was Nikola Vucevic and Al-Farouq Aminu for Wendell Carter Jr., Otto Porter, and 2 first-round picks. And the 2 first-rounders are going to be taking place this year in 2021 and in 2023. Do you think this is the haul that the Magic should have gotten for an all-star player?
Well, I'll be honest with you, Sean. My initial reaction, so I got the report this morning they weren't trading Vooch unless they got a big haul. So when I saw the trade, naturally I was disappointed because, we're not getting a lottery pick out of this. We're not getting an all-star out of this. I do see it from the front office's perspective because they've been known to really fall in love with long athletes, real long athletic guys, and that's sort of their mantra. That's how they built the Milwaukee Bucks. That's how they've been constructing this team. And, Wendell Carter really fits that bill. He's just an absolute freak athlete, plays above the rim. So I see what they see in him, and, hopefully it pans out. But I will say this also, so much appreciation for Nikola Vucevic and what he's meant to the Magic community. He doesn't get enough credit. This guy is truly one of the all-time great Magic players career-wise. So he'll be missed in, a lot of great years, and I appreciate everything he's done for the organization.
Yeah, this one hurts a little bit. Yeah. I'm not going to lie to you. As a journalist major and as a guy that's reporting on it, I have to temper things. But again, Vooch has been a guy, we lost Dwight Howard. We were so, Dwight left, we were thinking we got this guy named Nikola Vucevic.
That was one of the worst days of my life.
No, 100%. One of the worst days.
No. That was the worst day of my life.
No, that in sports life, 100% worst day. Maybe yes, my entire life. That was and I'm thinking we get this guy Nikola Vucevic, who he was a high draft pick, but we're we get him from the 76ers. He doesn't barely play. And to see where he's come, and two-time All-Star for us, really, we went from the bottom of the league, the bottom of the barrel, to him performing at the highest level, and pretty much, let's call it like it is. He's the second best center in the National Basketball Association. He is right behind Jokic. There's no question. The Bulls got a good one. I don't know how I feel about the trade.
I mean, you might be forgetting Joel Embiid.
Maybe I am forgetting. Listen,
he's top 5. He's a top 5 center in the National Basketball
top three.
Association.
Top 3. Listen, sure. it's a hard day, especially losing Vooch.
It sure is.
I don't know. You're trading a guy that can shoot threes for a guy that can't shoot. He's young. Clearly, if there's one thing we're going to learn discussing all these trades, it's that the Magic are going young. So again, I think John said it. We respect Vooch too much. Like, Vooch is one of the greatest Magic players of all time.
Yeah.
And he's going to be, I think he's going to be sorely missed. For all the Magic players that wanted him gone, I think you're going to see, we probably wanted him to stay. Let's move on. There is by the way, we're doing this live, so there's full trade details coming out, trades happening. So a 3-team trade between the 76ers, Knicks, and Thunder. 76ers are getting George Hill and Iggy Brazdeikis. Don't know how to say his name. Knicks are receiving Terrence Ferguson, and the Thunder are getting Tony Bradley, Austin Rivers, and 2 second-round picks in 2025 and 2026. That is coming from Adrian Wojnarowski from ESPN. Let's move on to Aaron Gordon. Again, a lot of these were made last night, so Aaron Gordon has now officially been traded. Evan Fournier, I didn't make a thing for Evan, but Evan got traded to the Celtics for 2 second-rounders. John, just give your initial thoughts on Evan Fournier, 2 second-rounders to the Celtics.
2 second-rounders to the Celtics. You know, I love Evan Fournier. I love Evan Fournier more than most Magic fans. I think, it was time to go young and get rid of him. I sure wish we could have got a better return for him, though. 2 second-round picks in the NBA, that's essentially G League players is what you're getting there. So really, we got nothing for him, and that's coming off a 31-point game this week, so I was certainly hoping to get more. But like Vooch, this is a guy who's been in the organization for a long time and done a lot for us, so I'm going to miss this guy, and I really appreciate everything he's done for the Orlando Magic as a fan.
Yeah, he's one of the guys that Orlando Magic fans have not appreciated.
Very underappreciated.
Very underappreciated. And a guy, you're talking about a guy that puts up 19 points per game for us. And I'm talking about us, for the Magic. Mm-hmm. So the 2 second-round picks, obviously, his contract was expiring. The Celtics most likely can't pay him. So that's that interesting, thought process. Mm-hmm. And it's a big change. The Magic were thinking they were going to get Marcus Smart in 2 firsts from the Celtics.
Why'd you remind me?
And now we're looking at something completely different.
Now we're looking at G League players.
Exactly.
One other thing about Evan Fournier all time, though, I do think when he had the little man bun, I think best hair in the history of the Magic. It's close with Alfred Payton, but
yeah,
I was never big on Alfred Payton's hair. I think that the little mini man bun, I think that's best hair in Orlando Magic history.
And that was right when he got here. Remember when he was with the Denver Nuggets, his hair was not good, but he came here and his hair game,
it was tight.
It was tight.
It was clean.
And he's a fun guy. Much respect to him. He's done a lot for Orlando Magic fans. Really quick story. I remember it was I think his 2nd or 3rd year here. I bought an Evan Fournier shirt and he signed I brought it down. He took all the time to sign all of the Orlando Magic fan stuff. So I really appreciate Evan. But let's go to Aaron Gordon. This is the trade that everyone expected to happen. He was the top player to get expected before everybody knew the Magic were blowing their team up. But let's talk Aaron Gordon. Obviously, Aaron Gordon goes to the Nuggets. And the Magic are getting Gary Harris, R.J. Hampton, and a first-round pick. The Magic are also giving Gary Clark to the Nuggets. John, what are your thoughts on this trade? I'll give my thoughts in a second, but I really want to get your thoughts on the return that the Magic got, and what do you think this does for the Nuggets moving forward?
Yeah, I think this just sticks with the theme. They're going young. They got Hampton, hopefully a young guy who gets with us where we're developing all these guys. We're giving them a space to develop, whereas, when these guys are on the Nuggets or then there's pressure to perform right away where you can get in with the other young guys that can all iron sharpens iron, then get together and develop. And I think Aaron Gordon, it was time to move on from him. I don't think he fit well with our team, and this was a long time coming. I will say, though, it's going to be so painful to watch him ball out on the Nuggets. as I believe he will. I think it's going to be a good fit for him, and I think he's going to play the best basketball of his career, and it's going to be so painful as a Magic fan to see him play his best basketball of his career in a different uniform.
Yeah, and it's crazy to think that he could be playing his best basketball when he's already been a two-time All-Star for the Magic. And when you talk about where the Magic were, Aaron Gordon. Aaron, the problem with Aaron, and this is, I'm still thinking about Vooch. Vooch is like in the back of my head all the time now, so I apologize. But with Aaron Gordon, you look at him, and he never took that leap. You know what I mean? Like, the Magic always, at his number 4 pick, the Magic always were expecting him to be more of like a Paul George type. A guy that can play the 3 and 4, defend every position, but also be an elite scorer. Yeah. And Aaron, he was, no questions asked himself. He was he was a great defender. One of the best defenders I've seen play in the Magic in years. Can score at the basket, can, make the mid-range jumper. He's improved his 3 tremendously. But I think the consistency is the biggest issue. And that's why I think the Magic, from the beginning of the week, I said, if the Magic trade Aaron Gordon, I completely respect that. Because the Magic haven't got what they wanted. Aaron, after years of losing, probably wants a different, change of scenery. I understand that trade. I just think it'll be interesting. John, what are your thoughts on the Magic as a whole, right? You see the big picture. They're trying to get draft capital. They're trying to go younger. That's obvious now. They really blew up their team. So what do you see moving forward with this roster? A healthy roster, not a, riddled with injury
We're not talking. So the rest of this season, it's going to be unwatchable. It's going to be a straight tank. Hopefully we get, a top 3 pick to pair with, when we get Fultz back, which is hopefully sooner than later next season, when we get J.I. back, Jonathan Isaac back next season. And then, I'm excited too because I think the mission for the rest of the season needs to be to get Mo Bamba minutes and develop him and see if we have something there. So far, his career hasn't been great, but then he'll have a game where he'll have, like 15 rebounds, and it's like we might have something here. So develop Mo Bamba this season, and then I'm excited to see the product on the court when we've got all these young guys. We've got Fultz, Cole Anthony, Jonathan Isaac, we've got Hampton and Carter that we're going to get in, develop them, and then Mo Bamba with that. So, hopefully, at least a couple of these young guys can really reach their ceiling and become perennial all-stars, and we just might have something here.
Only time will tell. And let's hope for the city of Orlando that these all work out. And, I don't know if Magic fans can take another 3-year rebuild.
Yeah, I mean, as a Magic fan, it's like we've been through this before, especially since Dwight, we haven't recovered. We had the Oladipo, Tobias Harris era, we went from that to, the Vooch, Fournier era, and, now this is the Fultz, Isaac team, so we'll see.
Which, listen, I trust the front office, and I think a lot of Magic fans do. This is a different front office. Yeah. They've won a lot of games. They've made a lot of good trades. So I trust the front office, and that's when we move on from the Magic. I don't know how much I can talk about the Magic today. So let's move on to Kyle Lowry. This guy, John, has been just, I don't know. Toronto wants to get rid of him. His cap space is like $40 million. Like, his cap is ridiculous. Couple rumors. It looks like possibly the 76ers are where Lowry might end up. Don't know what they'd be getting in return. The Clippers now, I guess, have emerged as a possible landing site.
That makes sense.
And the Lakers. So out of those 3 teams, who do you think he'll go to? And what do you think the return needs to be for this to, really be worth it for the Raptors?
Yeah, so you bring up the Sixers. I think they're sort of out of it now, bringing in George Hill. I think that'd be a little overcrowded backfill with George Hill, Ben Simmons, and Lowry. So I think them bringing in George Hill is a signal they're not going to. I think the Clippers is the team I would really like to see Lowry on. You get a all-star point guard who's won a championship, who's got a lot of playoff experience in there with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George to sort of facilitate everything. I think that'd be a perfect landing spot for Lowry, and I think he could be that piece that puts the Clippers over the top. So to me, I see Lowry on the Clippers. As far as his value, I really think you can get him for a decent value. I don't think you'll have to give up too much to get him just because of his age and because, the Raptors, like the Magic, are a team that's looking to go younger.
Yeah, and I think you see a lot of these teams, right, that like Raptors, it's like they're right on the cusp of like the Magic 8 seed, 7 seed. Raptors, they won a championship, lose Kawhi, and now they're right in that bubble of like, 7, 6 seed, right? And it looks like those teams are now choosing to go younger.
Yeah.
They're choosing to take that, young route. And John, sometimes that doesn't work.
Yeah,
Because
for the Raptors here, I wouldn't do it just yet. Because they were a top 4 team in the East last season, and then I almost chalk up their struggles this year to having to play in Tampa.
Yeah.
That they're away from their facilities, they're away from their homes. That's a challenge that no other team is dealing with right now. So I would credit their struggles that, and I would keep going. But either way, now we're probably looking at the Van Vliet Siakam era in Toronto, and you know what? That's better than anything the Magic have to build around straight up. So.
Oh, hey, you got that right.
I would love to have Siakam in Orlando.
I 100%. Well, I'll take J.I. I'll take healthy.
Yeah.
I'll take healthy J.I.
Hey, how about Siakam and J.I.?
Okay, well, now you're just, it's a pipe dream.
Yeah, you can't have your cake and eat it too, I suppose. Not with frosting on it, at least.
Well, I think you can eat cake with frosting. I think that's like the only way to eat it, though.
So you can have your cake, you can have your frosting and your cake.
Yeah.
And eat it.
See, but the frosting's the best part of the cake.
So then you could have Siakam and Isaac on the same.
There you go. I don't know how we got to that, but there you go. You see, we're smart thinkers here at Almost Game Day. Well, we talked about Lowry, and like you said, Van Vliet is clearly their guy that they want to build around. So they traded Norman Powell today. These graphics made earlier. These are all happening very quickly. I think right when the Vucevic trade happened, everything else started to happen pretty quickly. So Norman Powell is going to the Blazers, which I think it's a really exciting move for the Blazers. The Raptors are getting Gary Trent Jr. and Rodney Hood.
Ooh.
So listen,
I'm a big Gary Trent guy.
Gary Trent is pretty. He is pretty.
He's better.
Good.
I think he's a lot better than Norman Powell. I'm not high on Norman Powell.
Okay, so give your thoughts on Norman Powell. Clearly, you don't like him a little bit.
Yeah, well, I think he really disappears in the playoffs. And Gary Trent, that guy has been, really keeping the Blazers in course as McCollum's been out. And now if you're a Toronto fan, you still have something to be excited about. Like I said, it's the Van Vliet Siakam era, and you got Gary Trent, a good third option there. So.
Yeah, and I think Rodney Hood has really proven himself over the past couple of years, too, to be a serviceable bench player, to come off the bench. And can even start some games. It's weird. I would count Rodney Hood as a shooting guard. So you're trading Gary Trent, who is another shooting guard. It's pretty much a shooting guard trade, 2 for 1. Norman Powell has shown a lot, especially if you have him in fantasy or you watch the games. He needs minutes to develop. You look at Van Vliet, and he gets most of the minutes. But when Norman Powell's in the game, he makes an impact, and he is a great shooter. He can really play. So it'll be interesting to see McCollum, Powell, and Lillard all on the same team. I think the Blazers are a team to watch now moving forward after they lost out on the Aaron Gordon sweepstakes. Let's talk DeMar DeRozan. This is a guy, I just feel like every single year he's been on the Spurs have wanted to get rid of this guy. Obviously, he's taken a decline over the years with the Spurs. He is not the same player he was with the Raptors, but he is still a really solid player. Can't shoot the 3-ball, but he's a good player. John, why do you think the Spurs have been trying so hard for years to get rid of this guy? And where do you think he ends up if a trade does go through?
Yeah, so DeMar DeRozan, I think he's a really good player. I think there's basketball players and there's hoopers. DeMar DeRozan is a hooper. He can put the ball in the bucket, and you know what? He'll knock down a 3-ball here and there. I think really the issue with the Spurs is they're kind of stuck in no man's land right now. As they're a low seed or a team missing the playoffs, so they're marginal. And the reality is DeMar DeRozan, he's really the only trade capital they have, especially with LaMarcus Aldridge's age. So DeMar DeRozan, I think it's just because he's the only person who has any sort of value on the market is the guy you want to trade. And really at this point, I don't see him getting moved. I thought maybe Boston, but Boston bringing in Fournier for a better value than they would have got DeRozan kind of rules that out. So I actually don't think DeMar DeRozan is going to end up getting moved.
And he's hard to get moved.
Well, especially because what you're going to have to give up, most likely you'd rather give up to Houston and bring in Oladipo. a
Yeah,
younger
well,
guy.
it's very similar. And you see a lot of these players that are on short contracts, like going to be expiring after this year. Teams aren't willing to, give up a first-round pick for DeMar DeRozan because most likely he's going to want to leave and go to a contender. So it's a weird thing. Like Evan Fournier, right? You only get 2 seconds for him because you don't know if he's going to re-sign. You don't know if you have the money to re-sign him. And you don't want to give up a first-round pick because then it's a wash. You're losing the player and you gave up a first-rounder. So DeMar is interesting. I have no idea where he would go. I potentially think the Lakers can make a move, John. I really think if they wanted DeMar DeRozan, listen, if they miss out on Kyle Lowry, I think the next best thing is you go get a DeMar DeRozan that can help out LeBron.
That'd be good. That'd be good. You might have to give up Kuzma.
I would give up Kuzma for DeMar DeRozan, though.
Interesting.
He's listen, when you talk about more reliable, when you everybody hears me preach this with players. I rely on consistency. You can have it's Aaron Gordon, right? You can have a 38-point game against, the Brooklyn Nets. But then if you only score 13 against the Suns, that's not consistent. There's too much space in between. Kyle Kuzma is one of those guys that he can have 29 points one night, but then he can only score 5 the next. DeMar is at least consistent enough to where the Lakers, they need somebody that's going to be consistent. Now playing against, the Clippers, the Suns, and if they make it to the finals, probably the Nets.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I think Kuzma's been playing really good basketball since the LeBron injury, but they haven't been winning. So whatever that's worth. And to your point, DeMar DeRozan is a more proven player than Kyle Kuzma, but I don't think you're getting a significant upgrade there.
We'll see. Nobody knows with DeMar DeRozan. The Spurs, it seems like I said, every year it seems like the Spurs want to trade DeMar DeRozan. One player that the Spurs most likely are going to trade in the next couple hours is LaMarcus Aldridge. LaMarcus Aldridge, he's been for a month basically saying that him and the Spurs have come to an agreement that he's not going to play for the Spurs anymore. Again, the two players that they kind of replaced their stars with, Tim Duncan with, now they just want to leave. They're done. They want out with the Spurs. This is more of a toss-up. We have no idea. Maybe the Heat. But, John, where do you see LaMarcus Aldridge in this, trade deadline?
Where do I see LaMarcus Aldridge? Like you said, I see Miami. I will say I don't see San Antonio getting a good return for LaMarcus Aldridge at his age. So, maybe Miami for a second-round pick and, one of their utility bench players, frankly, just because, like I said, his age, and he's a guy that everybody knows they have to move. So I'd say the Miami Heat, but not for a great return.
And Miami has been, I think you and me both know, Miami has been really trying hard to get some, Kyle Lowry,
yeah, they sure
LaMarcus Aldridge. What do the Heat think? What are you going to give up? I know they don't want to give up Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson.
I don't think you have to give up that much. This isn't LaMarcus Aldridge. At one time, he was the best power forward in the league. He was a top 10 player overall in the league. This is not. You're not getting that LaMarcus Aldridge. You're getting an older veteran whose best years are behind him. So I don't think you have to give up Hero or Robinson. I don't know what you give up, but it remains to be seen.
It'll be interesting. We've got one more player to talk about, then we'll go into a bunch of other stuff. Andre Drummond. The Cavaliers, I don't know what to say. Andre Drummond was playing out of his mind early on in the year. Looked like an all-star candidate, playing great on offense and defense. And the Cavaliers just decided, we're going to sit you. We're done. We're going to trade you. Kind of like, LaMarcus Aldridge. What are your thoughts? Number one on the Cavs. The Cavs just seem... I don't know what to talk about that organization, but where do you see Andre Drummond? Is that a potential landing spot to the Lakers for this year's team?
Andre Drummond's a really interesting case because, we just saw him traded a year ago, and now he's on the block again. And I think it's really just testament to the direction the league is going. Everybody's moving more towards small ball because this guy, truly, he's the best rebounder in the league. He's always in the top 3 for average rebounds for about the past 5 or 6 years. So, but the problem is that's just not where the value in the league is. Guys don't care. So to be the best at what he does and have such a little trade value is, it's absurd. And that's, like I said, that's just the direction the league is heading. Where do I see Andre Drummond going? I don't know where I see Andre Drummond going, but I see him being on the block a year from now, going somewhere else. So we'll see.
I think if you could pair Drummond up with Anthony Davis and LeBron James, I don't know who drives on you, honestly.
Yeah, well, I think ultimately one of the contenders is gonna bring him in to try to have him be an Embiid stopper. Ultimately, we'll see if it works.
And that's the thing. I don't know if Philadelphia can make it. I don't think they have the wherewithal to make it to the finals.
Ooh, if Embiid is healthy, I don't know.
I think Doc Rivers. Listen, I have all the respect in the world for Doc Rivers, but he had some of the most talented teams when he was with the Clippers, and they just could never get over the hump. I don't think this team is any more talented than some of those Clippers teams that he had years ago.
Either way, regardless of that, teams that are at that top tier, they need somebody who can stop Embiid, because as it stands right now, the Nets, they get matched up with the Sixers. Embiid's putting up 35, 37 points a game in a 7-game series. The question is, can you live with that? Can you put, KD, can you chalk KD in for those same numbers, and Harden and Kyrie? They might be able to just outscore him. But if you get a guy like Drummond in there who might be able to slow down Embiid, that could put them over the top.
It'll be interesting. Before we go today, I want to kind of go over a potential, not like a mock draft, but John, we've been watching. Listen, NCAA tournament. It's coming up in a couple days. We're getting ready to I'm kind of done with the NBA for a couple weeks. I'm going to focus on the NCAA tournament because now I have to start watching prospects. Clearly, that's what I have to start doing. Let's go back to the Magic. Listen, there's no question. They've made the most moves so far in this, trade deadline period. They've gutted their team. So, say the Magic get the number 1 pick. Is there somebody besides Cade Cunningham? And if it is Cade Cunningham, give me your thoughts on him, that could really make this team special with Markelle and Jonathan Isaac.
Yeah, I think you got to go Cade Cunningham with the number 1 overall pick. I think he's the best athlete, the best scorer. Just at the end of the day in the NBA, if you have the number 1 pick, you're not always going to see the product of what you're getting right away. Oftentimes you're drafting guys who need a few more years to develop. That's Cade Cunningham, but the ceiling for him is so much higher than the next guy. I think Cade Cunningham's the guy, and like I said, you pair Cade Cunningham with what we have right now. You've got a bunch of young guys who are dedicated to the game and want to get better, and they're going to develop together. And I think the future truly is really bright. We're just a few years away from it.
Now, if the Magic don't get the first pick, right? Because let's be real here, most likely they won't, just based off of
But
our
Sean,
luck.
let me say this: doesn't it kind of feel like it's our turn?
I told you this yesterday, and I said
yeah. Well, we've missed out on it so many times. It's like we've got to get it eventually. So
I said,
it feels like this is the time.
They're not giving it to Minnesota. Come on, Minnesota's not getting the first pick. It's like, we get it. You've had enough first-round picks in the last, or first number 1 overalls. I think it has to. Do you really think they're going to give the number 1 pick to Detroit? Come on.
Maybe I will say this: Detroit, they've got a way better fan base, higher ceiling for that organization. I just think it's our turn.
It has to be. We need to prey on a shooting star and just pray to the NBA draft gods that the Magic get the number 1 overall pick. If they don't get the number 1 overall pick, though, John, really quickly, Evan Mobley or Jalen Green, what would you choose between those two?
I got to go. That's tough. I got to go Jalen Green.
I'm agreeing. We need a shooter. We need another shooter. I'm sick. I'm tired of not being able to be a scoring team. Mr. Whitley, I appreciate you, all of you guys. Make sure you tune in on Tuesdays to Just Winning with John Whitley. Only a couple more shows left. This semester, it's flown by. We're coming down to the final couple shows. So please tune in to Tuesdays with Just Winning with John Whitley. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Almost Game Day. It's a weird one. This is one of the ones I probably didn't want to do. I'm going to be honest. I wish I could have taken today off. But I'm happy that you tuned in. I'm happy that you're watching. As always, subscribe, like, share, comment. Tell me I'm an idiot and that you love the trades the Magic did and that we're going to be, a top 5 team in the NBA. Tell me that. I want to hear it from you. You can hit me up on Twitter at SeanMRGreen. It's been Almost Game Day. Thank you again. Have a good rest of your day.